What's up, everybody? We're back with another Buck Junkie podcast. Man down, guys. How are y'all doing today, though?
Doing good.
Yeah, me and Mark been man down and bunch of stuff.
Man, yeah. Mark, he's out. He had to have him a little procedure, so he's recovering now. He made it through it just fine. So they might have took something out of him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they.
Hope he didn't need it.
Hopefully not.
Well, Mikey, this is your week. What are we talking about this week?
Man, this week we're going to talk about the what ifs of deer hunting.
What ifs?
What ifs?
What ifs?
That's right.
I like to speculate and guess. And
I would if every time I go
yeah,
hunting.
me too. What if? What if that big jerker come out? Could you hit him?
That's all. It's always about that. What if? What if?
That's right.
We're going to talk about some what ifs. You know, what if something was different in our state or in our area? What would we do? How would we handle it?
Yeah.
Talk about some of those things today.
Last week we jumped into your crappie fishing. You and Randy been out Butler Lake.
Yeah, we went back again this Friday. Different area of the lake, kind of the same techniques. We tried again, but we got back on them again. Didn't catch quite as many fish. A lot colder, a lot windier.
It was cold Thursday and Friday last week.
Yeah, it was cold. It was really cold.
So the water theory thing, that's what it's all about, finding them fish where the water temperature's just right.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of tell, like, when you get in the water in your waders, I mean, the water temperature from last week or week before last to last week was drastically different.
Because we had so much rain, I guess new water coming in.
New water came in, fresh water, cold water, and then it was, it was like 50 degrees that day or 55 or something, so the water was really cold.
I know right now the water is up at Butler Lake because when I go where I live out there, I'm kind of on I guess it would be the east side of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up in the fields. When it hadn't been in the fields, so I noticed it just like the end of last week.
It's out there now.
It's out in the fields. So.
Yeah.
So that means the lake's up.
That means it's up.
What does that do to your strategy?
As long as the water stays in those trees and stuff, I mean, you have to like we caught them. It was just sporadic last Friday. It wasn't like the Friday before. We kind of had a area or a depth that we were catching them in. And we kind of stuck with that and just bumped those trees until we caught enough, it was time to go. This week, I mean, we caught them everywhere from, sometimes in my waders, I was standing in ankle-deep water fishing in not even hardly knee-deep water and pick one up. And then I'd go out in waist-deep water.
Are they in holes or are they just in that knee-deep water?
They're around little bushes and trees and stuff like that. Mainly they're around the willows, the cypress, and one we call an ironwood. I don't know if that's really the name of the tree, but it's called an ironwood tree. It's almost like a shrub more than a tree. Yeah. It's a tree, but it don't get real tall that I've seen. And they hang around those. And the more vines on there and nasty crap that's hanging on the tree, the better it is.
I guess it makes ambush spots for them, or
they just
cover.
They get in cover there where they can, once they get in there and make a bed and all that cover, the fry are able to come back to that and hide because they'll stay around the nest just, like anything else. So they're able to hide in there and stay away from big predators and stuff like catfish or bass or something like that coming there trying to get them.
So how long of the year can you actually get out there and wade fish for them?
Once the water temperature gets up kind of high and the spawn's over. They stop making beds and they actually spawn. They will move back out to deeper water.
It's just the opposite then. Water's getting, they're wanting cooler water versus hot water.
Yeah. So does that water stay there long enough for their eggs to hatch? And
sometimes.
I imagine a lot of it just goes back dry, right?
Yeah, it'll go back dry, because that was, I may have touched on that a little bit last week or in another podcast, but, our lakes are watersheds, so they're flood control devices or whatever you want to call them. So the Corps of Engineers, if they got a big flood coming or, a lot of rain coming and it's been dry for a little while, they're going to open the gates and let the water out and let that, make room for the new water coming in. So they're liable to drop the water.
Several feet a day.
Can drain it.
Yeah. So how long have you noticed it takes for those water levels to fall from where you're fishing to where it's like lake bed that you can actually
go overnight?
Does it fall that fast?
Yeah, if they got it open up, it's going to fall several feet a day.
Yeah, there ain't been a whole bunch of times I've seen them have that thing just gapped wide open, and I don't know that it was then or not, but it's blowing out. If you ever been to the spillway down behind the levee there, that water is blowing out of there when they got it gapped wide.
Yeah. Imagine this time of year they're not. They can't send that much water downstreams.
They probably just got it open enough, to
keep it steady.
Steady flow coming out, trying to maintain what's, handle what's coming in. and kind of keep it regulated as much as possible.
If I went, I'd have to bass fish. I'm not a crappie fisher.
It's
I don't know enough about crappie fishing.
Yeah. You catch anything other than crappie when y'all are in there doing that?
no.
That's the only fish you'll catch.
If we were fishing with a minnow or something,
Yeah, you
I
can
might catch
more.
a catfish or something like that, you know. But we've got a jig, so if the bass ain't up in there messing around, the only thing you're gonna catch is crappie.
So I've seen, I had some buddies, they used to go down there. That's when they'd put lines out. Whenever the water got up high enough out of the lake where they could just ease off the road, put a boat in, and go back up in there and put trot lines out.
Yeah,
And they'd have to go check them. I mean, regularly because the water levels would fall.
yeah,
But they would catch catfish up in that flooded water.
yeah. I mean, I imagine that those catfish, they're
feeding too.
predators, so they're in there looking
Yeah.
for that, that roe and stuff, or the eggs, whatever you want to call it. They're up in there probably looking for those nests because they'll go through and suck up a bunch of eggs and keep moving.
So how many weeks out? Is it just springtime? You can do that really though.
Crappie fish,
Yeah, I mean,
wade fish.
wait for the catch on
That's
that
the
technique.
best time to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, but because the water temp, they're spawning this that time of year, and they're moving up into that shallower water to actually spawn.
Yeah, because I know in the summer
It's low.
people do a lot of trolling
Yeah,
because they're going back out to those edges of deep water or where that
Yeah.
water's 65 degrees or below, I guess, and that's where they all
Catching-
gather up.
they're schooled.
Yeah, they school up.
They're catching them out there in those schools out in the middle of the.
So you're not
wide
going
open
to see
lake.
them up and closer to the bank, basically.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you may pick up one here and there, but they're up close to the bank. But most of your fish gonna be out towards that deeper water.
Did y'all run across any old no shoulders this past week?
No, it's too cold for them
Too
this
cold
week.
for 'em.
I was a little worried about alligators in there where we were at. I was thinking about that when we were out
Right.
there fishing. I was like, you know what? I ain't never seen nobody wade fish in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So you grew up fishing that lake pretty much.
Yeah.
Not too far. I mean, it's in your backyard.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen an alligator out there in Archibald Lake?
I have not seen one in Archibald Lake.
Yeah.
I've seen one in the Coldwater River, but not in Archibald Lake.
In the
Yeah.
on the east side of Archibald, I guess.
Yeah,
Or
they're
on the-
about where we live at now.
Yeah, really. There's been an alligator out there.
Mhm.
They got to be some around, right?
Oh yeah. I seen a picture a guy had off 51 at 51 boat ramp. It's been 7-8 years ago. There's an alligator out there.
Man,
But
I'd have to ride up on one.
yeah, there were some. They released
Released some for
years
beaver.
ago.
I think beaver control
Yeah,
and
but
muskrats.
They were only like certain speed. Like there was no males. They were all females or
Yeah.
something like that. I remember I had a buddy when I was working down in Tunica said that the game wardens, I don't know if they got them from the game wardens, or they had to call them out and they'd put them in these ponds to keep the beavers out of the catfish ponds and stuff.
Mhm.
And that's where they would put a lot of those. Or if you had a pond, you could get you an alligator. It was only one gator, and they weren't supposed to be able to reproduce. But you know them things. get
Nature
out.
will make a
yeah,
way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's
Always does.
people have seen them at Enid and Sardis, but I don't know.
There used to be one at the spillway at Enid.
Yeah, I had one of my dad's buddies. I mean, it's been 25 years ago. They was fishing below the spillway or dam, whatever it ended. And they said, man, I could hear it was night fishing. They hear something growling. They turned the spotlight, and that's what it was.
an alligator.
Yeah, it's the alligator over
Yeah.
there.
I remember going as a field trip a kid, and we'll see the alligator floating out there in the spillway. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know if they put it in there or what the deal was with it, but it was in there.
Yeah, I think most of the net fishermen
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
caught all the alligators. They drown to get.
You know, we
under
have
the
a
nets.
alligator season in Mississippi down. I think it's Pearl
It's all,
River.
yeah, it's all
or-
south. Yeah. I got 2 or 3 buddies that do it every year.
Would y'all?
What
I
I
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go alligator hunting one time. See
Just
what it's
try it.
like and
See,
try it.
what Mississippi? You can't just shoot. You got to snag.
Yeah, you got to catch
snag
them.
it.
Snag.
Oh,
Yeah,
You
I
got
don't-
most of them use fishing poles, big treble hooks.
I think you can shoot once you get it to
You
the
have to
boat.
use a bang stick. I don't know that you can use a rifle.
I think it has to be like secured up against the boat.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way
yeah.
before
You can't
can-
shoot it out away from the boat. If I'm
Yeah.
understanding that right.
They put multiple hooks. I've seen them. They put multiple hooks in them. They don't just hook them once. They try to get 2 or 3
Yeah.
lines on them. Some things go to fighting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like the TV show that you see.
Probably not.
Was that Swamp People?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, Willie catches them like that, but he ain't even got no rod and reel. He
Yeah.
just flings it out there on the end of a trot.
Now, I like the
Snags
ones
them.
that go out there and they just spot them and try to shoot them. Now, that would be interesting
Yeah.
there. Try to get those 17 out. Hit them between the eyes.
I don't know if we kill any.
That seems awful dangerous, don't
Be
it?
a bunch of
Shooting
blind
high power-
alligators out there.
Yeah.
Shooting a rifle on the water.
Yeah.
Y'all seen what bullets do? And they hit
Yeah.
Oh,
Probably.
yeah.
Man, they go all kinds of. Never know where they're going.
Yeah, alligators is something that, man, that is a animal that I do not want to be in the water with.
I wouldn't either.
I mean, because I think about all the stuff when you're walking around out there wade fishing, the stuff bumping in your legs and that you can't see, and it's a little eerie sometimes because you're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you can see boats go by, but they're 100 yards
Ain't where
out.
you at.
No,
Yeah.
something happened to you back in there.
Oh, yeah. It's going to take a rescue squad to get to you.
But bump an alligator back in there or something like that, and that thing take you down.
We need to find out if there's any Louisiana guys that wade fish for crappie.
I'm sure there are. They probably know. They've been around them enough that
They walk through them crawfish ponds and stuff. Getting what's going to keep alligator out of that?
Man, did you see the TikTok that I sent? I sent it. I think I sent it to all of y'all where the guy's checking the crawfish traps and that freaking big old gator grabbed that paddle wheel.
That's what got me to thinking about that.
It picked him up out of the wall. It was a monster gator.
Oh, it had to be 12 foot.
He went right by it.
It rolled it right up over. I mean, you would have thought that thing attacked the boat.
So I never think about like fishing, like snakes or alligator. I don't never think about none of that. I don't know. It don't register with me.
It don't bother you out there if you're at night or something, snakes and stuff?
I don't never think about it.
Man, one time me and Thomas went up the river in the boat, and we're gonna say we were running trot lines. Anyways, we were running trot line, and my trot line got hung up, and I couldn't find it. So, anyways, so I had to get out of the boat and swim down to it and cut it loose. Well, it was black dark. It's in the middle of the night, so I slipped off the side of the boat with a knife, and swam down. I grabbed the anchor rope and pulled myself all the way to the bottom of the Coldwater River down there. Was feeling around because I kind of knew where it was at, and I reached over and I caught the line that it was attached to, and a log bumped me in the back of the legs. And you should have, man, I come out of that water so fast. I mean, you seen dolphins come up.
Yeah.
You breached.
In one stroke, I come up, breached that freaking water, and I was in the boat. Both feet landed in the boat. Thomas said, what's wrong with you? I was like, man, you can't imagine what ran through my head when that log bumped me. I said, we're going to leave out until the water goes down. We'll come back and get it.
That's like
something that had you.
Oh, it's black dark in that water.
Yeah, I don't know how,
Middle of the
I
night.
wouldn't even jumped in there like that.
Yeah, I mean that's a different scenario. But if I'm just out there fishing, I don't think about nothing. Like
No.
heck, when me, you, and Heath was in Orange Beach fishing, rope got hung up under the boat, and we just caught probably, I'd say it was 28, 30-pound fish, and a shark bit it in half before it got to the boat. Anyway, the captain's like, man, it looked like something off a TV movie. He put a knife in his mouth, took his shirt off, shoes off, and swam down under the boat to cut that off. And I'm like, man, I was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess in that water you can see, but the fact that we just had a shark,
Yeah.
that would be a little creepy.
He stayed under there too.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, man, this dude, all right, you sure?
You just want to make sure somebody else could drive the boat.
Yes. Oh, we was fitting to learn real quick. He sure jumped over there and cut all that line off. It got up in the motor.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah.
Oh, you trying to negotiate the deckhand to go down?
Oh,
y'all can bait you on poles. Y'all can't drive the boat back.
Now, I don't know if he'd have jumped off the day I was.
The day we went out and it was a monsoon hurricane coming through. Yeah.
1 to 2s.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know what he was saying. 1 to 2s. It was more like
like 10s or 12s.
10s to 12s. It was
That
like
was
perfect
rough.
storm.
That was rough.
Oh, crap.
It's bad when the deckhand goes and puts on all the deadliest catch gear.
Oh, he had the yellow jacket
We're
with white
sitting
boots
there
on.
trying to drink beer,
Yeah,
He goes, wait a minute. He goes, puts all the stuff on.
You literally could not. I mean, we was in a cab and it was so much water coming over the front of the boat that he was running the windshield wipers. You could not see out the front of the boat. That's how it was.
Mm.
No, I looked out the window behind me and there's fish swimming by. It's like dipped down. There's fish right out the window like we was in a submarine. And this is a big boat. I don't know. What was a 48-foot boat?
It was pretty freaking big. It wasn't big enough, but I think out that whole charter area we went out, we was the only idiots, and I think it's one other boat that went out that day.
2 boats, and then they was talking back and forth about how everybody was doing on the boats.
We're like,
The other people was giving it up before they ever got out of the little
jetty there,
jettyway, or whatever.
I ain't gonna lie, I did get at the back and dry heave for a minute, but I was all right after that. But it was rough.
That is the roughest trip I've ever been on in my life.
I can tell you, if Mikey was on that boat, that I'd have been like you. I'll buy the freaking boat. I don't
Malcom didn't offer him a price for the boat.
Sell the house, just get me back to the bank.
I was about to take out the second, third mortgage. We was coming back though.
Malcom,
it was that, or we was supposed to call SOS, like shoot up flares and stuff. I was going to bring that helicopter with that big double basket where I could crawl in it.
Called the Coast Guard.
That was brutal. I don't know how hours we stayed out, but it was rough.
Now the bad thing was we were sitting inside with the radio because I was my head in the garbage can. Worst thing you probably do is stay indoors. But we stayed there with the radio, and we can hear all these people calling and telling how bad it is. Captains out here trying to put bait on their hooks. And you couldn't fish with two hands. You had to hold something and try to fish. And I don't even know how. They got their fish that day.
We fished for a little bit. It was rough.
Look, when the boat got back, I didn't even let them tie it off, Mikey.
You got off.
As soon as I got close enough to dock, I was gone.
No, we was unloading stuff, and I think you and Heath both. We asked where they was at, and they already had Uber waiting on them to carry them back to the condo.
By the time I got cell signal, I had me a car. I had an Uber driver sitting there. I said, "You're taking me back," and it took me half a day to quit from feeling like I was moving.
It does. If you've never had motion sickness, you can get it sometimes, and if you catch it early enough and you can stop, like we went rabbit hunting when I got it that time. I got it right in the back of the car. Anyways, I figured it out, and I got up front, and I was fine. But like we went somewhere a few weeks ago, and I got it in a Uber in the back of a minivan.
Yeah,
and winding around in mountains and stuff.
It don't go away.
It took me hours to get rid of it. Yeah, it'll take you down.
I'm not one to get motion sickness ever.
Heck no, you can ride with your brother Waylon. That song gave me motion sickness. That's the only time I've ever been sick in a car, and that was from him. But yeah,
that boat it taught me one thing: don't trust anybody at the dock if they're going out. Go look at the weather report.
Yeah,
see what them waves are doing. See what they've been doing. See what they're gonna do.
They wanted their money.
Oh yeah, well, see, he wasn't so big about the money. Wasn't the thing on that trip. That captain didn't want to be outfished. He wanted to be the boat that brings back in the big fish, and that's great on a good day
when you're not puking.
Yeah, we went out one time with him. He's like, "Y'all want to catch big fish, or what do y'all want to do? We want to run around." We said, "Let's just go catch some good fish." And man, he put us on.
We've been out with that guy 4 times, I guess.
Yeah.
And no lie, when that boat pulls up. Nobody at the whole marina had fish. They come see what we caught. Nobody had fish like we had. And
we've caught them even that time y'all caught.
He's a little rough around the edges, kind of, but was it Big Orange Charters? I think what it was. I'm pretty sure. But he puts you on. He'll flat ask you, "Do you want to fish 8 hours, or you want to catch big fish and go back?" And we're like, "We want big fish."
Yeah, that's a good day, or that's a good feeling when you go out and everybody's waiting on you to get back.
Yeah, every time I've been with him, it's been that.
And we've hung fish on the board, and everybody take pictures of them.
Yep.
I've been on those boats where they didn't even get to tie off on the dock. They had to park them. They let you off on the beach.
Y'all go ahead and get off here.
Yeah.
Nobody was waiting on us.
They just threw the fish at you.
Yeah. Our fish were on stringers.
Cleaned over there. They didn't offer cleaning, sir?
No. Those are bad boats.
But we also got to talking about, it's time to start thinking about food plots. It's a year-round thing for us. And so last week we kind of touched on the early spring part of it, what we're doing. So,
yeah.
Do y'all have any more thoughts on where we're at with our plan?
I can tell you what, I know at our house, we don't do a lot between me and Mikey and Mark, we got a little bit of pasture land. Man, that little rain last week, dude, it's green and it's growing. It's over knee deep now, just in weeds.
Yeah, I planted the boys a food plot down by the house, kind of close where they hunt around the house, and it ain't 100 yards from the house, but you can see it kind of through the woods, and it is just lush and green right now. And it was just a off mix that I bought.
It was one of those bag blends.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing like what we were planting down there. It was a killing plot. So
yeah.
I throwed it out, and man, it is so thick and green down there now.
Oh, it all looks good. The trees have all budded out. Everything's greened up.
Yeah. Now, we said last week, now's the time. If you got those clover plots, it's time to go ahead and hit them. If you need to spray them one time and get some.
What are you spraying clover with this time of year?
If you got broadleaf, if you have a lot of broadleaf in there, you spray 2,4-DB, not 2,4-D. 2,4-D will kill the
clover.
Broadleaf, you're specifying the weeds as a broadleaf type of weed.
Yeah, but you can. Broadleaves are not. You can pretty much put that in a pump-up sprayer and walk out there and just spot spray the broadleaf that's probably in your clover. If you have a thick enough stand of it. Now, if you're trying to create a thick stand of it, and you got one end of it's real thin with clover and it's got a lot of broadleaf in it, you may want to go ahead and use a spray, rig. But most of the time you just hit it with a spot sprayer. And then clethodim is the one that controls the grass in there, and it don't kill the
clover either.
And once you get a stand with clover, it almost takes care of itself other than you just clip the tops out.
Yeah.
It's just because it's aggressive, I guess.
Yeah.
It'll
thick
out
yeah,
a lot
thick,
of stuff.
All the red clover on the side of the road is blooming.
It is. I noticed that this morning.
Yep. But you can, you need to mow it, get it, like James was talking about, once it starts blooming or stuff like that, and it go through, you try to cut that down, keep that down.
So do you mow it this time of year, or do you wait till Memorial Day to mow it?
You can wait till Memorial Day. It's fine.
I think it's better to wait, especially for us. Heck, who knows? We might have a daggone frost next week. I mean, it's
So I've always heard like your mows or your clovers like Memorial Day, 4th of July, then Labor Day. If what made it through the hard part of the summer should be right.
It is. If you don't have the time, it's not going to hurt too bad if you did it right now. But ideally, I'd wait till closer.
So what height do you want to keep that clover at if you got a good stand of it?
So red clover, we seen this last year. I didn't cut one of our plots of red clover, and I let it get long and leggy. Well, there was nothing up underneath it. When I cut it, there was no foliage up under it. So I just pretty much cut it off, and it was just stalks. Now, granted, it reseeded itself and came back up the stuff I cut.
But that's not ideal.
But it's not ideal. I let it get too high. But, we were going to terminate that plot anyway. So I just let it go. And, that clover got up, about, some of those stems were up around your waist almost.
Yeah, that's too high.
Yeah, it was way too high. And it had stretched out like a little tree or something. There was hardly any leaves except for at the top. And then when I cut it, there was no leaves at the bottom to catch any sunlight. So it just kind of wilted away.
So if you bush hogging it, where would you want to set your bush hog just on a regular stand?
I mean,
because you want to keep it before it tops out, right?
Yeah, we always cut it like you got your white bud or head or whatever on it. You cut right above that head.
You want to cut above.
That's
that
how
head?
I did it, and I don't know if that's right or not. But some people want to knock the head out to help spread the seed out. But
I mean, you're opening it up. So if you get clover halfway between your ankle and your knee, you need to cut it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times I was thinking like, how these plants reach certain stages of maturity that the animals might not mess with it when it gets that tall.
Yeah, now your clover, once it gets those big leaves on it, still, you're right.
Because the deer seem like they prefer that younger, tender plant.
Yeah, they want that stuff. That's why you see their head buried down in the clover. They're getting that young, tender stuff up underneath. At the bottom. It's no different than us going to the buffet, picking the best tender steak off the buffet or whatever.
So when are you fertilizing the clover? What time of year?
Yeah.
I know you don't put like triple 13 on clover. What do you need to be?
We put 0-24-24, so a zero nitrogen fertilizer on there because clover creates its own nitrogen.
Yeah.
So when you put that on there, it reacts better to that 0-24-24 that we put on it.
Which I think that's a good reason why we put white clover in our mix in the fall is because we know that white clover is going to grow in the spring. Mm-hmm. It's going to make nitrogen. And if you're not planning on maintaining those clover plots, you're putting some nutrients back in that soil, so you won't need as much fertilizer come fall, right?
That's right. Yeah, you put those nutrients in the ground, even if your plant doesn't use them, they're still there.
Yeah. So when you do plant something, it'll uptake.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, if you don't, the weeds are going to eat it up on you.
Yeah, now if you start getting and that's another reason for spraying. You get a lot of weeds in your plots. You're fertilizing for the plants that you have there. So those weeds come in, they may take up a lot more, or they'll take up everything. You just wasted your fertilizer.
So when are we going to fertilize?
Well, let's see. I need to go down there and do it now. Hit those clover plots. I need to hit them one time. While we're getting some good rain. Need to make sure it's not a gully washer or nothing like that because you want a slow, steady rain. You don't want just a huge influx.
Yeah,
of
you
water
don't want
hitting
the highest fertilizer. You don't want to wash it off the road ditch.
Do you need to make sure you're hitting that fertilizer before a rain event though? Or if it's going to be dry for 2 weeks, is it doing any good to fertilize?
Yeah, it
depends.
If you fertilize in a drought, you got to take a chance of burning your stuff.
Yeah, it'll react to the heat and sunlight. It'll burn it up.
So we're not doing much fertilizing midsummer then. We're going to get all of ours in.
No.
Do you want to get that fertilizer on the ground before you plant too?
There's different ways of doing it. and there's a lot of different ways of doing it. I mean, you can fertilize when you put it down, and I have before, and the plants come up really fast, you know, and then you'll do another fertilizing session somewhere. Yeah, let it get up to where you can, you know, the plants are still kind of pliable, and you can run over and they'll stand back up, you know, because small plants will take running over, and then they'll kind of stand back up, especially if you fertilize them. But once they get up, get stalky and hard, you run over and you break them.
They're done.
That plant's done when you break it off. Most of the time, depending on what you're planting now. Beans sometimes will come back. Corn, not so much. So you want to make sure when you do that last fertilizing, you fertilize early and then fertilize one more time.
That's where those little bag fertilizers come in handy too, the shredders, because you don't have to. You know, if you got plots small enough, you got acres and acres, you ain't gonna want to walk them. But last year we had some that are a little smaller micro plots. They're less than an acre.
Yeah,
they're pretty easy to
walk.
You know,
Walk.
And that's another thing. If you have a small planter, you know, you set your rows to the kind of the wheelbase of your tractor. That way you can ride those middles and not run over your plants. If you plant with a planter, you know, like we plant with the woods, and we got a planter this year, but we ain't got a whole lot of stuff that we can't plant that vetch with the planter. We can, but it's not ideal to do it. It's going to drop too much. But if you're planting beans or corn or something like that, you want to try to check your wheelbase and
match it up.
You can kind of match it up to a pretty close anyways. And that way you can ride those middles, and when you're fertilizing, you just ride the middle. But anyways.
Getting time.
Yeah. It's getting time to do something. All right. So something we were going to talk about real quick. This guy in Kentucky, he was cleaning out his, I guess it would have been his great aunt's or his wife's aunt's attic, and found a Kentucky state record up in the attic. Seen this article on it, but the deer wound up net scoring like 190 and 4/8.
Wow.
Yeah, and anyways, the rack was just thrown up in the attic. They were fixing to throw it in the garbage, and the guy seen it, and he was like, "Hey man, what are you gonna do with that?" And they was like, "We ain't gonna do nothing with it. Throw it in the garbage. Just put it in the trash pile." And he's like, "Can I have it?" They, yeah, you can take it. Well, he took it and had it scored. Well, this deer wound up. It would have been. It had a little plaque on the bottom of it. When the man that killed it and when it was killed in like 1958, and had the county it was killed in and all that. But that deer would have been the largest typical deer in the state of Kentucky for 19 years if the man would have had it scored. But
you got to consider back then they was, you know, they wasn't hunting horns. You know, I guess the whole hunting generation has changed so much from 50 years ago to now.
And that was kind of why that article interested me, and you know, was wanting to talk to y'all about it. You know, like back then, you know, that man, you know, he knew it was a big deer, but you know, to him, it really didn't. It wasn't that big enough to like really take it nowhere.
So did they have a scoring system back then? When did
I don't know how long.
Y'all know when those started?
I don't know when Boone and Crockett started.
That's a good question.
It should have been around in there though. I mean, it should have been in the 60s, anyways.
Yeah, but you got to think. I mean, that's. Man, 60 years ago.
Yeah,
you know.
But the next deer,
so for that record would have stood for 19 years after 58.
Yeah.
Then they caught
They found one. It got hit or somebody found on the property dead that would have took the first place. I forget what it scored, like 191 or something. It wasn't much bigger than it. They found it, and that one stayed till 2000, and then finally somebody killed a deer in 2000 that would have. So actually, if you know, a deer shot, not one that's picked up.
Yeah,
it would have
taken legally.
Taken legally would have ran for almost 40 years.
Dang, we're way off. Yeah. So
when did it start early?
So Boone and Crockett was founded by Theodore Roosevelt and George Bird, Colonel maybe, in 1887.
1887.
But it so when did Boone and Crockett actually the scoring system start? This says in 1902. When they really started pushing North American big game.
That's amazing.
And if you hunted and stuff like that, I mean, you know, there was magazines back. You know, we got internet today, but magazines back then or news in the newspaper.
That's probably how it made it.
Yeah, you also got to consider that's all. If you killed a Boone and Crockett deer today, what's the first thing you'll do? Man, I want to thank Mossy Oak. I want to thank you know, such and such. And it all goes back. It's all tied into a big industry. Back then, it was meat on the table.
That's right. They didn't care. I mean, they didn't care.
But
they liked the trophies, I guess. But I mean, they wouldn't. That wasn't
priority.
No.
What are you gonna do? Get your name in the paper? Or, you know,
you
ain't gonna ride around a truck.
No,
3 days and showed everybody.
I burned
I
a bunch of
don't-
gas in high school riding one round.
Shoot, if I killed that thing, I'd run it around to green
That's
stuff
right,
was running
yeah.
out of his nose.
I wonder what part of Kentucky that was killed in. Was it like western or up in the hills in the east?
I didn't look
or-
to see where the county was. It names the county on here somewhere.
Kentucky's known for big deer.
Yeah.
Metcalfe County.
I had no idea Kentucky.
Yeah.
counties, but
I
we'll
don't-
look that up after the show because I'm interested. I mean,
Yeah.
so I noticed you put on here something about Mississippi. And I had no idea what the
So,
record for. Do y'all know what the record for Mississippi?
well, I looked and I got multiple mixed results on this. So one was a Pope and Young. It was I think it was 230. I can't read my writing. 236 or 216, something like that. And then another typical was 181 and 2/8. But man, I know some buddies of mine's killed deer, and man, they ought to be daggum close to 180.
That's
Yeah.
Pope. I mean, that's a bow kill, right?
Well, Pope and Young is. This was just a
What's the Boone and Crockett? Do you know?
So,
Mikey?
well, on Mississippi, on our
The record, like Mississippi
in our
record?
state,
recorded with the
Mississippi
state
Department of
was
Wildlife, Fisheries, and
186, wasn't it?
Parks. Yeah, the net score was 184. It gross scored 188. That's a typical, and it was killed by James Saunders in Adams County with a rifle. And then let's see, we've got.
Oh, I bet non-typical is crazy.
What do you think non-typical is? I mean, just off the top of your
Uh,
head, what Jamie? Don't tell him if you looked.
287 inches. I mean,
No.
that's some crazy gnarly
No.
rags.
I didn't write it down, but I do remember seeing it.
So net was 295 and
Oh,
3/4. The gross was 311 and
something.
4/8.
Ooh. You know, that was a monster.
Oh, that was at
You got a picture of it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
go on the Mississippi Department of
Oh,
Wildlife, Fisheries, and
yeah.
Parks. It shows you.
Where was
pictures
that
of
was
it.
Dude, thing's
killed in
one moose. Look how palmated it is.
Yeah.
what's
So how do you measure that? I mean,
don't know.
where do you take your mass measurements?
what's the hunting club down South Mississippi? Everybody used to go hunt.
Mount Mason? Or,
No,
uh,
I went totally blank.
Bugachula?
No, I think that's where the deer was killed at. Wherever, it's some club down Mississippi. Everybody used to hunt all the time.
That one was killed. It was killed by Tony Fulton in Winston County
Giles
in
Island?
1994.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I don't remember if it's Giles Island or not.
It don't tell you exactly.
Still
It
around
gives you the
Pittsburgh.
county. He killed it with a firearm, and it was killed in 94.
I did just scroll through, and for Mississippi, like just the list of deer that was listed per county.
Yeah,
Man, Yazoo County has got some daggum big deer killed
yeah.
in it.
So
Big
I
Black. Big
Yeah.
Black.
it's all on river.
Yeah.
well the ones that come up here a lot is like Winston County.
Yeah, Winston's on there a lot. I don't know where that's at exactly.
Winston's on there a bunch. Madison.
That's on the Big Black.
Yeah. Let's see.
They don't have DeSoto or Tata or Tuna
Yeah.
on there?
John's
not in the top
John's got
25.
John's got one for DeSoto County.
DeSoto County. There's been some big deer in DeSoto County killed.
No,
No,
I mean,
people.
you can search this by search it by county. You know, so like non-typical, you touch on it. Gerald Chatham Jr.
Yeah, it's a good deer he had on there too.
He found it. It says pickup. If you ain't, I was thinking maybe he got hit by a pickup.
Does that mean he hit it with the pickup?
No.
Or he found
It's
it?
pickup. They picked it up,
Yeah,
found
off
it
the side of the
dead.
road.
Yeah, I got tickled.
Where do you
about
think?
that.
You think that was off of 69 over there in Fogg?
It had to have been because that has to be there.
That's their
Over
place,
there,
wasn't
there's a big deer over there. That's over in the area
I
where I
used to
grew
hunt
up.
over there across 69.
But he picked up a 203-inch deer over there.
And I tell you what, you don't see in there, and I know it's happened.
Scott Dunaway's on here.
Yeah, he's got that's a heck of a deer.
199. He killed it down.
Typical, no, non-typical.
This is non-typical,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Andy Anderson's on there,
Yeah.
Ed Earhart, Craig Kern, Jeff Jeffords, Corey Stewart.
Don't see, I tell you what, you won't see on there much of Tunica County.
Really?
Yeah,
It's a lot.
believe it or
I don't know.
not.
I don't think they report them. I mean,
Well-
it's some big deer killed in Tunica, no doubt.
So
Well, that was
a lot of those deer though go by Arkansas regulations, so they might not put them on the Mississippi. How
well,
does that work?
well, Tunica would be Mississippi now if you're hunting Hardin Point, or like Hardin Point goes by. It's technically in Arkansas, but it goes by Mississippi rules.
So they would check. That would count.
Or
as a
Mississippi season, I
That
guess.
would count as a Mississippi.
No, how did
It goes by Arkansas.
yeah, it goes to Arkansas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it backwards.
It's Arkansas rags.
so John's got the number 2 in DeSoto County.
Yeah,
How big?
176 was his gross and 5/8, and then 168 and 4/8 was his
Public or private land deer.
mhm. Yeah, Kevin Medlin has the big
Yeah, that's a
deer.
good
It's an
deer.
archery deer.
yeah.
It was killed in 2012. The funny thing is, like I looked on ours, and there's not been a lot of deer scored in the last 10 years. like at all.
What do you think the number of hunters have went down because of?
I think they're not talking about it.
CWD?
Yeah, maybe they're not talking about it. But that's what I was. That was kind of why I brought up that article and stuff. Back in the day, those old men and stuff back then that hunted, that didn't, like James said, it didn't really matter. And I wonder how many of those deer are laying in garages or, Papa killed this, great granddaddy killed this deer, and it's a 200-inch deer laying in somebody's garage.
And you don't even know.
They don't even think nothing about it. It's just an ugly set of horns laying over in the corner.
How many of them do you think just cut the horns off?
I know. That's what I was
Just
saying.
cut them off and throw them up on, nailed them up to the wall or threw them up in the bin.
On the back of an old barn or something.
When Michael Jimmy got his mounted, it's an 8-point, and I want to say 27, 28 inches inside spread on it. It's huge. But, I don't know. I have no idea. He's probably never had it. Or that 10-point got never been scored. My dad's got a heck of a 9-point. I know it's never been scored. But that was back in the 70s when DeSoto County first opened deer season.
Mm-hmm. And that's when this deer was killed, that Kentucky deer. It was, I think they released deer in that area or something and didn't open up they said 10 years that they didn't open the hunting season. And this one would have been killed 2, maybe 3 years after they opened.
Wow.
So that's hard to think of. I guess we've grown we've always known deer hunting. I couldn't imagine in my mind, I'm like, well, deer season has always been here.
What would you, if they closed it now for 10 years? Man, we'd have such a
I'd open a body shop.
Yeah, you'd have to. Insurance or something. A body shop would be the thing to have.
Yeah,
We'd be overran with them. You wouldn't want to run up and down I-55.
No, because, when I was a kid, out there by the lake where we grew up at, there wasn't a lot of deer like there are now. And then progressively deer, right around the late 90s and early 2000s and right in there, that was some of the best deer hunting that I've ever experienced. And we still experience good deer hunting now, but back then I don't know, it was a huge population explosion or something.
Like the population was more?
Yeah, it was more.
More than today, you think? Because of disease?
I think today the population is probably there or more, but we got more hunters, I would say.
I don't know if it's more hunters. I think they're pushed to more places because of development.
That's true too.
That's what I was going to say. Like up here, and I'm talking about in our area, like where I live, where I grew up at. I think so because there was so much more farmland now. The casinos went to the west of us. The population exploded in
neighborhoods popped up out in the farm country. Yeah.
Farmland.
They started taking out forest.
Yep. Started, and they just kind of ruined the habitat for the deer around here, and it just kind of dwindled down to what it is today.
The pine forest isn't the best habitat for them. So
and a lot of people,
they cut down the old growth timber.
Well, when they got ready to sell those farms and things like that, they cut the timber off of it and went back in, planted pine trees, and then left. Got the timber and sold the property.
As much rules and regulations we have over everything, that's something I don't understand. It's like me, if you went in and it ought to be something standard you had to go by. If you come clear cut your property,
the value goes down.
Yeah. Instead of just letting crap trees grow up that's never going to be an oak tree or whatever, y'all have to replant it with something that's going to be valuable.
Yeah,
I would think, but
there ain't no law on that. I guess.
No,
it's not. I'm sure they probably come in and assess the timber and say, all right, well, you got $20,000 of timber on the property, and they cut it off.
Now, when we was, that hunting club used to be at Water Valley, it was all timber on property. Yes, they come in, they cut trees off of it, and then they come back in, I don't remember what time of year, spring, fall, whatever, and they'd replant.
Yeah.
But, if somebody owned their own private land, you never seen anybody come back and replant trees on it. Very, very seldom.
So you see what happened to the place that we punt now over there on Salem. When you first went there, was that 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
What was it? You said it was totally different.
Oh, yeah.
It was totally different. It was, it was a beautiful stand of freaking hardwood tree. You know how it looks on the east side of the fence over there?
Yeah.
That's the way that property looked.
See, I bet them, like the crossroads stand we call crossroad stands, got, 6 acres of pines behind it, 4 acres?
Yeah, something like that.
It was all little bitty, like waist high trees. It was little bitty trees then.
Pine, though? Set out pine?
Yeah, but that across the ditch, like where plantation was, it was hardwoods from one end to the other, a bit almost.
And so they put back some pines, but then most of it was just they made fields, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that field was already there.
Oh, the field was?
Yeah, the field was
there.
I
think the field
where
was,
the pine trees are, it was just all hardwoods up through there.
That whole ridge pretty much all through there, yeah.
And they cut it and replanted pines.
Well, even like right down the road from camp, 40-something acres of probably the most beautiful hardwood forest we have anywhere close to us. And
Yeah.
now it's a bald hill. It ain't got nothing on it.
Oh, it looks horrible. It's like a bomb went off.
Yeah.
But
It's for sale, I heard.
Pristine price.
Yeah, pristine price. Get your checkbook out.
yeah. All right, so let's get into the main topic, the what ifs. First one, what if we didn't have a deer season
Man,
in Mississippi?
we'd move, Mikey. We'd
We'd
move to a
move.
state where they had one.
I mean, you think about that because there were a time, back when these old men hunted just like that guy, and that's kind of what got me to think about that some was like there wasn't a deer season there for 10 years or longer than that because there just wasn't none there. And then anything that, like we're looking at that, what's the disease we got right now, CWD or what?
Yeah.
And I know that's been around a long time, but what if some kind of a plague type disease came through and wiped our population out and we're stuck with no more deer hunting? How would that affect us and what would we do? How would we spend our time in the winter?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we do what the old people did. They small game hunt.
Yeah, look
Yeah.
out,
Small game used
look
to
out
be
squirrels. Yeah.
Squirrels, rabbits, duck. I mean, that was,
Mm-hmm.
that was all the people had to do. Like, I remember my dad telling me, he's like, we didn't deer hunt.
No.
He grew up in a part of Tennessee. They didn't have a deer season either. I mean, they didn't, they'd squirrel hunt or they'd rabbit hunt or something like that.
I mean, as a
That
kid-
was hunting to them.
When I was, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 years old, I didn't never really deer hunt like by myself really then, but I would love to go get on a 4-wheel and ride down the road and go out there and go. I'd squirrel hunt. I used to love squirrel hunting. That's my favorite thing. But
It'd be hard to replace it. Squirrel hunting for now.
It would,
if we did,
yeah.
well, we did that in Tunica. That's pretty fun.
that was fun.
But
And I
There's-
don't. I mean, and you look now. We just said that nobody squirrel hunts anymore. You look. I mean, like even here in town at the office,
Mhm.
you could go right out here in the backyard and kill 2 limits of squirrels in one morning.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
my old house. I mean, I could have
Yeah.
had so many squirrels in the yard.
But that was just something I was thinking about with that. Is would you have bought a farm to
Squirrel hunt.
squirrel hunt and
Yeah,
rabbit
I mean,
hunt?
probably not. That's the biggest impact it would have would be on the economy.
Yeah.
You got to look at the deer hunting. I mean, the hunting industry and owns billions of dollar industry, but the deer hunting is a big chunk of that hunting industry. So the money, the jobs you'd lose.
Yeah.
I could say. I mean, would you have Mossy Oak Properties or these?
Would you
places
have
like
Mossy
that?
Oak?
Yeah, I mean,
Because you think about that. That's a Mississippi-based company. Those boys were from Mississippi. If they grew up not deer hunting, would Toxie Hayes have created a
yeah, just for turkeys. or
just
what?
for turkeys?
Yeah,
He might have. He might
He
not.
loves
I don't know.
He loves
But
turkey hunting. I think
that kind of a lot of their industry revolved around deer hunting as much as it did turkey hunting. It still does. And that would they have created all that camouflage and would they have really pursued that back then?
Yeah, I think it would be a big change, and that's probably one thing why you probably won't see it get overregulated. I mean, regulated out for the state because they don't want to lose all that money. These businesses are lobbying these politicians, and you see all the money that it brings to the state. You look at the out-of-state tags, out-of-state hunting license. All that would stop if people couldn't come hunt deer in Mississippi.
And we're lucky enough on
That's
that.
a lot
is,
of money.
like we can right now we could drive 10 minutes 15 minutes in any direction and probably hit some kind of government land that we can hunt for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah,
A lot of states don't even they don't even know what government land or free land or whatever is to hunt.
oh, we are fortunate in that to have so much open public land for hunting.
But just if we didn't, Primo's Hunting Calls is another one. Their stuff was kind of revolved around turkey hunting at first, and then it kind of evolved into deer hunting. And the things that they produced and things. Think about what all the videos and the calls and the camouflage and all the things revolved around deer hunting. If it was not a season in Mississippi today, how much that industry would have changed. Because I can tell you, Mississippi boys is putting out some of the best products there are on the market.
I believe that. I know that's a fact.
Dang,
Well, it's a big portion of what we, growing up. That's,
I'd win hungry. I'd win hungry last night. I had deer spaghetti last night. I'd been
what do
hungry.
you think of that? How much of your diet? We kill deer and we eat deer year round.
Yeah, we did.
You got to change that.
We had to have it, and just growing up not having a whole lot of, money in the household and stuff like that. Like we relied on fish and deer and, we didn't turkey hunt back then, but we were mostly fishing in the spring, but small game, stuff like that, just sometimes didn't do it. You really couldn't, you could put up some of them, but it wasn't like putting up a whole deer.
Oh, yeah.
Whole,
Oh, my daddy still to this day. my daddy puts hurt on him. I mean, he likes deer hunting.
He's gonna kill everyone he can. I mean everyone
and
right?
nothing. I mean, nothing goes to waste on it. I mean, if he don't, I mean, he's got some people he gives some to help him out. But yeah, most of the time, my dad, we've always ate deer meat.
He tells me he eats deer sausage every day.
Yeah, Daddy wants deer sausage 365 days a year.
That's his goal. They eat it 365 days a year.
I can do that.
Oh, that recipe that y'all knocked out this year on deer sausage is.
That's what I was going to say.
On point.
I could eat
It's
the
good.
one we made this year.
It's good.
It's easy to do too.
That's
a good thing about it. It's so easy. I mean, and deer is really good for you.
Yeah.
So
From a red meat standpoint, it's better for you to eat than cows. You can get it, the grocery store.
my brother-in-law ate supper with us last night, and I was like, "Hey, did you notice anything?" What? I said, "That's not ground beef." He said, other than you do get a different texture on ground beef versus ground deer, but he said, other than that, he said, man, that was darn good. I couldn't tell the difference. Real good.
Hey, it was probably because you processed it yourself, cleaned it up good, ground it. I mean,
we've always had a pretty big limit on deer anyways. But,
Yeah.
Some states, they don't have, you're not allowed but one deer.
Oh,
One
yeah.
buck.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
it's a lottery tag draw. I don't know about residents, but I know it is for like non-residents.
Yeah, I mean, like Jay and them in Indiana, they get. I don't think they shoot does up there, but they get one buck a year, I believe what it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you just say Mississippi wound up having to be like that, I mean, how would that change our strategy, or how would that change our
Man, we'd be so
stuff?
overpopulated.
Yeah, but I mean, if the population wasn't like that, I guess is what I'm getting at. If you get in that state of mind, like there's not that many, and you only got one tag, would you still deer hunt? Sit out there days and days and not see nothing, or
I imagine we'd get our deer hunting over real early and move on to something else.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I mean, again, talking about Jay in Indiana, he's come down here and hunted several different times. He's, sitting in a stand and seeing 20 deer don't happen for him in Indiana. It's like,
He's amazed. He's
now,
like,
granted,
he's like, man, I never knew something you could hunt like this.
I mean, granted, their doe's going to be
Three
twice the weight of ours, but
Yeah.
I mean, or a buck or whatever, it's going to
Yeah.
be a heavier deer, but it's more agriculture there.
sheer
too.
number. Yeah, they don't see it.
I'm just
At least
glad.
in his part of Indiana.
Yeah, I'm just glad that and I guess Mississippi's been a poverty state for a long time. I think there's been some things that come out in the articles and things like that about us being a kind of a poverty state.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that deer hunting was around in those days, because there wasn't a whole lot of industry around when I grew up. Not a whole lot. You had to go to Memphis or somewhere further south. But those deer, like I said, I'm glad that we didn't have deer or was only regulated to one, because us just killing one deer a year wouldn't
have cut it for
Wasn't
your
a-
family.
no.
Yeah.
I can tell you now, we would have broke the law.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine that's probably why some people do turn to.
I mean, the neighbor that lives up the road from us, when he was live, his family, they did. And they didn't do nothing illegal in their mind. They was putting food on the table. I mean, they hunting,
Shoot
fishing.
them out of season, whatever it took.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean, they was in, I won't say they was in the late 70s late 70s, early 80s before they ever have running water at their place. But
I
it's
think
just-
it's one thing if you ain't
it's the
got
road
no other choice.
hunting,
Yeah, I ain't saying
spotlighting is totally
Yeah.
different than
having to go feed your family.
Yeah.
I mean, and killing something on your land now. I got problems if you go to your neighbor's land
yeah.
and you killing a deer. We got a problem.
You're still breaking the law,
You're
right,
breaking the
Jamie?
law. Yeah, that's just like going stealing his chickens. You ain't gonna let him come kill his chickens, are you? Or his cow, just because he's hungry.
I'm glad there was. Oh Lord, man,
You
we
can
had
get all
good
kinds of-
days. We had
You
good.
can get some ethical dilemmas there. I
Yeah,
can see
I
that
know.
real easy.
I know it. Yeah, and that's why I was wanting to, brought that up. But I'm
What
glad.
would it be like? What if?
What if? I mean, I can tell you, if I was in that situation, and and I don't like breaking the law or nothing like that, but if it come between me feeding the family and not having it, we're breaking the law.
We're taking a chance.
Yeah, I mean, because there's been days when me and Daddy and Randy, we went fishing. We had to put fish in the freezer, and we had a good day. And the day before we didn't catch nothing. Hey, I might make a run back to the house, drop some off, and come back and go again.
Got to get them while they biting. Get them while they're good.
while they're hitting. So,
Yeah. But you're keeping everything. It ain't
Oh,
it ain't just crappie picking out the big ones, is it?
I don't think they
We'll
had that
catch it.
12 1/4 or 12-inch rule in the lake.
I remember we
If they
catch-
did, it didn't matter.
No, I really don't think they did back then. But
Yeah.
I'm glad they
don't
didn't.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I was thinking like, what would I switch to?
Yeah.
Like, what if? I mean, I would probably if you could kill, if we didn't have a deer season or we only limited one, I'd probably try to kill mine early. Then I'd go duck hunt.
Would you
like duck
hold
hunting.
out for a while? I mean, that, I guess it would depend on what your genetics were and how big a deer
Where you were
looking
hunting, but
for.
I mean, I think I don't see like somebody just saying, "Oh, you're gonna kill one deer. We're gonna just try to kill one that's a 150-inch buck." I think if you kill one, you'd fill your tag, and I mean,
if you only had one tag, it didn't matter the sex.
yeah,
It kind of
Would you-
depends
I
on.
wouldn't kill a doe out the gate, but
I mean, to me, if we was in that situation, it kind of depend on what your priorities were.
Mm.
If there was meat on the table, or if financially you was able to go to the grocery store and fill your freezer up, and you was looking for that 150-inch deer.
yeah, the trophy. I guess I don't consider myself like just a sure trophy hunter. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong better than shooting a big buck. I never killed that many big bucks. But if it's a trophy to me, it's to me. So I'd fill my tag, I wouldn't wait till the last weekend of the season. I wouldn't have went out there and
hunted all season.
Yeah, and saw deer all season and passed on them. And I can't hardly pass on them now.
And I wonder if, some states that do have like those lower limits and things like that, or, their seasons are not near what ours are. So I imagine if our population went down to where we were tags or, you only allowed 2 deer a year or something like that, our season will probably drop back to 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'd probably
Definitely
be a lot
rifle
like,
season would. Definitely.
I think it'd be a lot like Illinois or something like that, where they've got bow season and then you've got weekends where you may have, your high-powered rifle season, your muzzleloading season, and then either sex or whatever shotgun, and that's all you get. But most of those people, like in those states, well, the northern states, I know it seems like they have more of the one deer or limited number, and so most of those guys kill theirs early, and it's because of the weather too.
Yeah.
They're not hunting in January because it's too cold.
Yeah, most of those northern states.
They cut those by Thanksgiving. They're done.
They're
a lot
done.
of times.
They're ready
Especially
to ride out
December.
the winter.
And then they're coming south. A lot of those guys are come south and hunt down here.
Oh, that is like, so for instance, keep talking about Jay. That's the only place I've ever been that was like that. But there's like, we got acres and acres and acres of woods where it'll be reversed. It'll be 1,000-acre
You can see a
field.
mile or two across a field.
And then one patch of trees. So I've never heard them talk about like squirrel hunting or rabbit hunting. I don't know how.
It may not be abundant up there like that.
It might not be.
I don't know. That's a good question.
So if you're a one deer state, what do you do in the wintertime?
They goose hunt.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that
was
is big up
gonna say,
north.
that's
That
what
is
they
big
do.
up north, I
I
guess.
mean, that's what he said they do. They were giving his buddies they'd take trips or, hunt geese around there or hunt ducks, something like that. But definitely wasn't deer hunting. It probably wasn't a whole lot of small game hunting.
Yeah, probably not.
No, I mean maybe some rabbit in ditches and stuff like that, but I mean I imagine with a wide open, vast country like they have up there, I mean
Now, they got
hawks-
pheasants and a little bit of quail, which we don't really have around here.
Well, if they got those, they should have rabbits. Then.
Yeah.
It just depends on your landscape, what you're hunting too. But
We would be leaving a lot of grassy areas.
we would find something to hunt, whether it was hogs or coyotes or whatever.
I think so.
We're not going to sit at home and twiddle thumbs. But I see where you're going. Like, would you spend the money on buying a farm
Yeah,
if the principal purpose of that farm was deer hunt or hunting?
yeah.
in
Because
general.
I think about like the
I mean-
money that I spend on like rifles or camouflage or a 4-wheeler or a pickup. Which I mean, I'm just saying, you can still ride the 4-wheeler, do other things on it. But would you, at one time I bought one just for fishing and hunting.
Yeah.
Well, that's not even including a tractor, equipment,
everything
diesel
else goes
fuel,
by.
everything else that goes along with it.
Would you apply that much money for a no season or just a small game season or just a weekend season or a 2-week season?
Probably not. I mean, I'm sure you'd find a way to spend the money regardless.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to find a way to spend the money. But would you do it that way? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, I know some guys that like lease for turkey. Like they go, I got my turkey lease, but I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, I bought this land
To turkey.
just to turkey hunt."
Yeah, I hadn't either.
Because I mean, turkey hunt's super regulated.
Mm-hmm.
You get 3 birds and that's it.
3
That's
birds
it.
on
You're done
about a 6-week season.
in a 6 weeks. Yeah, it's super short. So I mean, turkey hunting's fun, but it ain't deer hunting to me.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of farms advertised like that I know there's, the population of deer is not really, really high. And I've seen those advertisements on there where it's just a field full of
Turkey,
turkeys.
yeah,
And I'm like,
turkey, yeah, turkey.
you know, and the price of the property is still kind of up there. I'm like, man.
Do you think
I
the
can't-
turkeys on the property sway somebody from buying it? Like, there's no deer. I mean, chances are in Mississippi, if we got turkey, you got deer, or vice versa.
You should.
know? But
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know that I would pay $500,000 for a farm just a turkey hunter.
Kill 3
let's
turkeys.
say this: which of the let's say the big 3, deer, duck, turkey. How do you think that breaks down? Which one's got the biggest chunk of hunters in it? Money spent, people doing that activity.
Duck strong.
Ducks. It used to be really strong in Mississippi. Now, today, I don't know that it is as much as it used to be 20 years ago.
There's a lot of duck hunters. They just
Yeah.
maybe don't hunt Mississippi.
No, I think a lot of them have moved west and, over that Oklahoma, western Arkansas area, Kansas, stuff like that. Dry fields up north. I've seen a lot of buddies of mine. That's what they do now. They don't even duck hunt in Mississippi no more just because of the flyway changed and something changed. They're not as abundant down here as they used to be. So a lot of the guys are going up north, and what they would spend on a field here, they go up there and hunt for a solid week and kill enough ducks to fill their freezer up, and they're tired of duck hunting by the time they come back.
If I had to guess, I'd just sure say deer hunting is the number one.
I think so.
Probably Mississippi, yeah.
I think in every lower state, probably every state. I don't know does Hawaii have deer? Sure they do. They got something.
They got,
But
probably got
I would
some
say
kind
every
of deal.
state's got deer in it. And I don't know if every one of them has a deer season, but not every state has deer or turkey, and not every state has ducks, a place to duck hunt. So that's why I was going availability.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's a big industry.
It's huge. It's huge.
That is a big
We'll have to do that research and bring those numbers back to you next week. See what I can find.
How many millions of dollars does deer?
Break it down by deer, duck, and turkey, so you can know which one's the biggest. Just by guessing, I would say deer. Now I would say the fishing industry probably outnumbers the hunting industry, though.
Yeah,
More people fish than they do hunt.
I think so. Yeah, we could probably. Well, I didn't close my computer up, but I probably could have looked at.
Yeah.
You may be able to look at that. Small game or fishing license compared to small game to big game.
But
Sold
just
in
in
Mississippi.
general, to combine the two, think of how big the hunting fishing industry is huge.
It is. It's large.
Yeah, if you go in a academy or sportsman warehouse, a Bass Pro, and you look at your section for deer hunting versus your section fishing's 3 times as big.
Oh yeah,
Everybody, it's a whole lot easier to go spend $100 on a rod and reel than it is to say you got to spend $1,000 on a deer rifle.
well, you don't have the ethical dilemmas. People associate firearms and stuff like
True,
that,
too.
stuff that we fight all the time,
That's true.
with hunting. Typically, hunting's done in the winter. Fishing, you could do it year round.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think, and then, probably my earliest memory outdoor is my dad taking me and my brother fishing. Getting those Snoopy poles or a cane pole and putting a cricket on it. And, that was, I remember that more so than I ever remember going in a deer, hunting or anything.
Snoopy pole.
Yeah.
You didn't have a Snoopy
I
pole?
did not have a Snoopy pole.
Man, when you graduate from Snoopy pole and you get that Zebco finally.
I wish I said this before. I still got my original first lure from the very first. I don't know what it is, the fishing pole, rod and reel, but I do have my first lure that Mom and Daddy bought me when I was a kid.
What was it?
I don't even know what it's called. It's orange and silver with spots on it. I don't know what that-
Crankbait or something?
Oh,
Yeah,
you're talking about
crankbait.
one of them old
Higdons?
I don't know. I need to look and see. Well, I still got it at home in my tackle box. I need to see
They're
the name.
down
brand
at
is.
camp. Shell's got one of those old antique signs that's got all
Shows
the
all his
Yeah.
baits on it.
baits
yeah.
on that thing. And I bet
What was his
bet
name?
it's-
Dan Higdon or something like that?
Yeah, I think is it
Something like that.
HEDDON or
Something like
HEDGON? I can't remember. But that was I see some of those packages now, but not as abundant in like our stores around here like they used to be.
Like the old Bomber and original Rattle
Yeah.
Trap and all those.
Yeah.
Follows.
A lot of his were
Silverman.
a lot of his were floating lures
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Just top water lures, or they may have a bill on them where they went out just so deep. But
I always wanted to buy those when I was a kid. Man, they'd be $5 or $6 a piece. And then you'd save up your money and get one and lose it. Never did catch any fish
Hang it up
on
first time.
oh yeah, that was
My dad would
always
laugh at us. He'd be like, boy, some worms.
yeah.
Crickets.
We always want to do that. The dreams and the thoughts of catching that
Yeah,
big bass
own
like
it. That's
Bill
right.
Dance on TV or Jimmy Houston, and you'd buy that bait and go out there and fling it right in a cotton picking tree right off the bat.
I don't know how many times I've done that, a bunch.
I was snagging on a log under the water and had to pop it off.
Oh, I've went down. I've had to go get a old crawl. I had me a good one. Them Rapala, good sized green crawdad crankbait shallow divers with the orange belly on it. Man, I'd done caught a big bass on. I probably wasn't. I don't know, 9, 10 years old. I was doing it, man. And I'd lost it. And I hung that thing up out in Greenbrook Lake. I said, I can't lose this lure. Bad as I hated to, man. We got Waylon to hold the pole. We just followed the line, waded out there, and found it on the. I got it though.
I busted the fishing hole up.
It did. It was all right though. I got my crawdad back. I wasn't giving it to him that day.
Well, so I guess we got a few questions that somebody had asked about cleaning a turkey. How do we do it, and who showed us how to do it?
Yeah, I mean, you showed me the first time this year.
Yeah, we done got away from the old school plucking the whole bird and all that pretty much.
Yeah, I was trying to watch some of that stuff, how people clean turkeys on, which you can't, some platforms you have to, it's not on there, but some people, I usually just keep the breast when I just breast out like we do a duck, just ride that, just like you carve a turkey on Thanksgiving turkey, just right down the middle and take it off right above the wings.
Where do you make your first cut? Up under the bottom of his breastbone?
On the breastbone.
Where his diaphragm would be?
At the high ridge on the breast.
All
so
right.
the highest point on the breast, that's where I'll start.
You go underneath the feathers right there?
Well, what I'll do is I'll cut him right at the, whatever he's called, the crawl or the goozler is what I call it.
Goozler,
Cut him right there and peel them feathers back.
Just
open him up.
Open his chest up.
Yeah, and then run a knife down beside that breastbone and just start filleting it down, just taking it down as far as you can take it, and it'll run out on the wings there on that one fat end, and just cut it off and do the other side the same
So
way.
you end up with two boneless turkey breasts.
End up with two boneless turkey breasts.
Is that the only parts you use off of them?
That's the only part I use off of them because Jamie's daddy turkey hunted for years and years and years, and he's plucked out turkeys.
Oh, yeah.
And he's done everything with the turkeys, and he told me that he's never been able to eat the wings and the legs on him. I mean, you make stock out of them if you want to.
Yeah.
Cut them off and freeze them and make soup out of them. But as far as like trying to eat it, grill it, or fry it, or something like that,
Or smoke it whole.
It's a
Y'all
wild.
ever smoked or deep fried a whole wild turkey?
No,
I have not.
I have.
No.
I hadn't either. I had never seen it done.
But they say the legs and the wings are so gristly that this is wild turkey. He's running, flying. He's doing stuff all the time. It ain't
no
big,
butterball.
No, it ain't that big old plump turkey that's just standing on the ground all the time.
So I got questions for you. So you shoot your turkey. How long do you have before you need to be dressing it?
Kind of the same thing with a deer. Is once you and birds are. I'm real scared of birds. So when I kill that bird, if it's just say it's 70 degrees outside, I'm gonna keep him in the shade as much as possible. If I have a cooler, I'm gonna pitch him in the cooler.
Not cover him in ice.
Not cover him in ice, but maybe have a bag of ice in the bottom or put one over the top of him or something like that. Or if I have to leave him in the vest, I usually roll the vest up, put it in the back seat in the shade, and turn the air on wide open. But you can field dress turkeys. I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
It stinks.
So that needs to happen pretty quick.
You need to be getting that bird clean.
So what's the first thing? So you want to save the fan. Just thinking we want a trophy now because we killed us a nice gobbler. Walk me through before you ever breast it out. Think about the meat. What are we doing to preserve the trophy?
Now, this is not a mounting it scenario.
Not a mount.
Yeah, not a full
body
mount.
mount.
Not a full.
No.
That's not typical full body. Most people do a fan, beard,
Right. Spurs.
bird.
whatever,
Yeah. So walk
Generally,
me through that.
so right off the bat, before I even clean the turkey or do anything with it, I'll pick the beard up, pinch it right at where it meets the the skin or the feathers, and I'll pull it up and I'll cut that off, leave meat on it. I'll take that off.
That's your first trophy.
That's my
beard.
first trophy's beard. Then I'll turn the turkey over, and you can reach back there where his fan is, fold his fan up into a little wad, and you can feel that kind of muscle tissue where he uses to open and close it and pick it up. You can feel where that meets kind of some softer flesh, and you cut that off right there. And you're gonna leave
Is it like his butt? You just
Yeah,
cut the
kinda,
turkey
yeah.
it's
butt?
right at it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right there.
And once you get it off, you can. I'd rather get it off and take more meat than I had
Yeah.
cut it too daggum short and your feathers fall. If
Yeah.
you can always trim up that excess meat or whatever off of it.
Yeah, because I have cut a beard off too short.
Short,
before.
yeah.
I didn't leave.
It'll all
enough
come
to
out.
Dry up, and all of a sudden all the hairs fell out of it on my mount.
You got to leave that core of it to
Yeah,
where
you need to leave that.
the root.
Yeah,
And if you want the spurs, you can take the feet. You can cut it at the first joint on the leg. Keep the feet
Kinda
and the
the kneecap,
spurs. Yeah,
kinda.
right at the kneecap. or you can just saw them off or cut them off or something.
Yeah.
And keep those if you want those. But most people keep the beard and the fan. That's about all they keep. You know, they might keep the spurs every now and then. But full body mount, you better be getting him to the taxidermy.
Yeah,
Don't
You're
mess
not
with
getting
it.
no
Yeah.
meat. You're not
You're not
getting
doing
nothing.
anything with it?
Nope.
Do they give you like? So does the taxidermist
think
give you the
so.
breast when you take?
So I
it
guess it
in?
kind of depends because I'm like you. They gonna probably want to get that thing bagged up some type of way and get it in the freezer.
Yeah.
I mean, because in a duck, they'll wrap it up, newspaper or whatever,
Right.
try to get the feathers to lay right, stick it in the freezer.
You ain't
You don't get nothing
right.
out of it.
I would imagine turkey would be the same way on
Yeah.
mountain.
Probably so, but they probably do just freeze it whole like that. But I don't know that. I mean, he probably gets it.
I mean, they do something with it, but it may not be no good after you freeze it like
Yeah.
that.
That show is a pretty mount too, a turkey.
It is
Whole turkey.
Yeah,
whole
pretty.
turkey. I like those. You know, I've cut those wings off of mine this time. You can cut the wings off if you want them, but I seen a mount where it was they had the wings, both wings attached to the fan, the feet, and everything on like a wood plaque.
Yeah, I think you or Mark one had a picture of that.
Yeah, it
They
was.
put
It
the
was.
beard on the plaque
put the
bar,
beard on
so
the
it's kind of
plaque.
like the head or whatever. Yeah.
And it was, and some of them came with like a little brass head or something like that on the
Yeah.
thing, and you kept out the entire everything but the body, really.
Yeah, that's
See,
pretty.
Daddy's got get the shotgun shell you killed the turkey with, get it home, knock the primer out. You can fish the beard through where that primer was and have it inside the shotgun shell. It looks
So
pretty
you can
sharp.
hang it or something,
Yeah,
put on a
yeah.
little leather
Yeah.
piece or something.
Looks pretty neat.
But
Good deal.
Beard and spurs, that's what people want on them.
That's it. That's it. Well, that about does us for today, gentlemen. Hopefully, Mark will be back with us next week here on the Buck Junkie Podcast. Mikey, you want to tell everybody where they can find us and all that good stuff?
I'm with Mikey. I got to write it down. I've been forgot where we at.
yeah, so you can find us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all the podcast platforms. Just check out our website if you get a chance. www.buckjunkie.com. We got some pretty cool hats and T-shirts and some pullovers
Hoodies.
on here, hoodies. And that's it.
If you got any questions, reach out to us and
Yeah.
topics or something like
We
that.
love
you know,
the
give us-
questions in the comments. Y'all keep them fired up. But until then, we'll see y'all next week. We gone.